How's it, everyone? I am currently set in lockdown in a government facility in South Africa. So I thought I'd put this video together for two reasons. First of all, so that I don't have to repeat myself 150 times telling all sorts of friends what the situation is and what it's like, etc., etc. And the other reason, I guess, is because as much as I've heard about COVID-19 on the internet, I haven't seen any posts by anyone about what's actually happening in quarantine facilities. So I thought I might just put this little video together and people can see what it's actually like. So to backtrack a little bit, I was in Europe at the time at which the lockdown was in place, and got to get my days right, but I think it was Tuesday, got the word that I was able to be repatriated back to South Africa on Wednesday at midday. I was in the Netherlands at the time, and so travelled through to Frankfurt on Wednesday morning, very early. Got to the airport at about 8 o'clock. The one very bizarre thing with this whole repatriation flight is that you have to pay in cash for the flight at the airport. No swiping credit cards or whatever, so hard cash. If I remember correctly, I think it was 596 euros for the flight. So yeah, as you pay for that at the check-in desk, and then the procedure was pretty much as usual, checking in for a flight. The airport in Frankfurt was obviously a lot quieter than usual, but otherwise normal formalities applied, going through passport control, etc. In the airport, I bought a small little bottle, like tiny bottle of hand sanitizer, which was the equivalent of 250 Rand. It was 13 euros. Which I think was absolutely ridiculous. I just thought, better safe than sorry, don't know what's going to be happening, better rather have some hand sanitizer on me. But yeah, I think they were a bit ridiculous with the price, especially at this time. I think normally if you were to, buy a thing of hand sanitizer in the airport, you'd probably be paying 2 or 3 euros or something like that. So, sure, hand sanitizer is in high demand at the moment, but yeah, that was just ridiculous. Anyway, got on the flight. I think it was probably like a Boeing 737, something like that. So 8 seats across. I think there were like 52 rows. So, flight could probably take 400 people. I believe there were 64 of us on the flight. So, we're obviously spaced, a fair distance apart. Each person pretty much almost had an entire row to themselves. And then, we landed in Johannesburg. And up to this point, the procedures, everything had been pretty much a normal flight. The flight attendants were kind of dressed in full, those kind of white suits, wearing face masks, gloves. Their masks have kind of mask plus a shield. So they were serving us wearing those. Other than that, completely normal flight. Landed in Johannesburg, the normal sort of, please, remain seated until the seatbelt light's gone off, etc., etc. And then plane came to a stop, seatbelts went off, everyone gets up, gets their bags, and only then did we get told, okay, health authorities are going to come onto the flight. Please will everyone sit back down. They need to screen you. So we had already filled in a health questionnaire, which had things along the lines of pretty much, have you had any flu-type symptoms in the last 14 days? Are you likely to have come in contact with anyone that you suspect to have had COVID-19, etc.? So basically, you handed your form and they took your temperature, wrote it down, and that was pretty much it. Then, next thing, okay, cool, we can get off the flight. And yeah, back down to passport control as per normal. Nothing's changed. The only difference was as we sort of got to passport control and started getting our passport stamped, instead of going through the passport control to where the baggage reclaim area is, which at the moment is completely shut down, we then were kind of ushered in a different direction. No idea where we're going, just sort of just keep following where the guys told you to go. And yeah, so we did that. And yeah, eventually went through a door and onto a bus. I did ask one of the ushers sort of, well, where are we going? And they kind of went, no idea. I said, well, are we going to quarantine? And they said, yes, are you going to quarantine? Okay, cool, fantastic, going to quarantine. No idea where. Yeah, nothing. And that, from then up until now, so if I get my dates correct, sure, I don't even know what day it is today. Today is the 9th. So, yeah, up until sort of, yeah, you do lose track of time when you travel. So it was sort of midnight today, or last night when we arrived. So up until about now, the biggest frustration that we've had is lack of communication and information. Yeah, when we landed, everything was as per normal. No changes other than health screening, which was in fact the exact same thing as we had when we arrived back. I think it was beginning of February I arrived back on a flight back from Europe, and they did the same health screening then anyway. So up until that point, like, pretty much things were normal until we started getting ushered into places without being told where to go. And that's been the biggest frustration for everyone, is just no information. So got into these buses. They drove probably 5 minutes to the tarmac, where they'd offloaded all of our baggage onto the tarmac. We picked up our bags, put them in a trailer behind the bus, and then off we went, back into the bus. And then the buses just didn't move at all. We sat there for about half an hour before eventually the buses started to move. We had a police sort of convoy escort type thing following us, and eventually came through to, it's an old Transnet facility. It must have been some kind of like training facility. It's very kind of, feels very similar to like a university residence. Yeah, that kind of facility. And it's quite old. So got out the buses. There's a person kind of greeted us, said, look, by this time, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, said, look, we understand it's been a long day for everyone. You know, if we just move in groups to the reception area, you'll check in, and in your rooms will be a small snack, and you'll be getting tested tomorrow or in the morning. And that's all the information that we got given. Got our room number, got taken to our rooms, but no information and no kind of restrictions of what we can and can't do, where we can and can't go. So, we weren't told. There's quite a few of the guys want to smoke. So we weren't told that they can't smoke anywhere. So it was kind of like we were only finding out rules and regulations as the rules and regulations were being broken, and the security was telling us that we can't do things. So to start off with, literally from my room, you walk 5 meters out and there's a door to go out into kind of a big courtyard type area. So the guys all went out there to have a smoke, and next thing, security, no, you're not allowed smoking. Now there's smoke detectors in the rooms. There you can see it on the roof. So obviously guys can't smoke in the rooms either. So that's kind of really annoyed people. Fortunately, I don't smoke, so it's not a problem for me. But then, we're not kind of like locked up in our rooms or anything like that. You can lock the door from the inside, but it's not locked from the outside or anything, so you can freely walk up and down the passages. But slowly but surely they started to kind of say to us, look, we want you to stay in your room, and fortunately, I'm traveling with a bunch of guys that I know. So there's about 9 of us that I do know, that are all in quarantine together. And from my doorway, I can see into sort of 3 other doors. So basically for us now is I can open my door, my friends can open their doors. As long as we don't step outside the room, that's kind of okay. So there's a little bit of social interaction, but obviously they want us to keep their distance, our distances from each other, which is understandable. And although the sort of 9 of us have all traveled together and have been in essence in isolation already for 4 weeks or so, I understand that they have to treat everybody here exactly the same as anyone. So they can't say, okay, well, you 9 guys, you know each other, so we don't mind you interacting. It obviously doesn't work like that. So yeah, we've slowly learned these kind of regulations as time has gone on. Then the next thing is, the facilities here are clearly old. Personally, I don't think they're dirty. If you look at the carpets, my guess is they've probably been vacuumed, but they're just old. I don't. Maybe some of the other guys are having other experiences in their rooms. I'm not sure, but to me, I don't see any dust on any of the surfaces or anything like that. I feel like they have been cleaned. It's just old, and it's definitely not 5-star. But there's. The bed's comfortable. There is a TV. I haven't even turned it on, but apparently the other guys say there's SABC 1, 2, 3, and ETV. There's a bathroom with a shower. There's no shower curtain or anything. So myself, I had a bath this morning because I didn't want to get the toilet or the bathroom floor wet. So there's that. And then when we arrived yesterday, there were no towels in the rooms. So when I bathed this morning, I just used an old t-shirt to dry myself. The one thing with this facility is kind of, all of the facilities are obviously new for this COVID-19 quarantine, but we're only the second group of people that have arrived at this particular facility. The first group arrived, I think, in the morning yesterday. We arrived late last night. So the staff are slowly coming to terms with actually what's happening as well. So I guess things like having a towel in each person's room, some soap, just basic amenities, as we're all complaining of what we don't have, so they bring it to us. The other thing is, having come from Europe, all of my electronic stuff is all 2-prong adapters. There's only 3-prong in the room. So at the moment, I've got a power bank, and my laptop's fully charged at the moment, so I can keep my phone charged. But if we hear more than a few days, then I'm going to have a bit of a hard time charging things. The security staff are quite friendly. So I think if we do need to charge something, or one of the other guys might have a charger in his room, they'll probably take it for us or whatever. Like I say, they have tried to be quite helpful, the actual security staff. But I guess big frustration, like I said, is just the lack of communication right from the start. This morning, as far as food's concerned, food is definitely not great. Breakfast this morning, I think, well, the big thing is that they cook food off-site, so by the time it gets here, it's already cold. I kind of woke up after breakfast anyway, but breakfast was, there's a fried egg, I think some sausages, some bacon, baked beans, but then they didn't bring utensils. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to eat baked beans with no knife, fork, or spoon or anything. And it was cold. So, those that did eat breakfast obviously did not particularly enjoy it. Lunch only eventually arrived at 3:15 this afternoon. So that's been another frustration, is just, like when you're sitting in a room doing nothing all day, breakfast at 9 o'clock, for me, that's almost perfect. I mean, I was still sleeping at 9 o'clock, but personally, I don't need an early breakfast, but there's a lot of people that obviously do wake up at 6, 7 o'clock and would like to eat something. But then, to go literally the whole day. Finally, 3:15, they eventually brought lunch. And maybe other people had other experiences, but for me, it was quite tasty. There's butternut, sweet potatoes, some other veggies, rice, gravy, 2 pieces of chicken. And it was kind of lukewarm when it arrived. It was edible. I didn't really personally have too much of a problem with it. Come sort of 2 o'clock or so, I could hear lots of shouts down the passage of people getting rather frustrated that they were hungry. At about midday today, we got the COVID-19 tests done. So it's basically, there's 2 swabs. One, it basically looks like an earbud, but it's got a long, thin, kind of almost steel wire attached to it that they shove up your nose. It's really not pleasant. Look, I mean, it lasts probably about 30 seconds or so. I'd say it's just more unpleasant than anything. It does hurt a little bit, but it's not excruciating. And so there's the one that goes down your nose, and then one at the back of your throat. They just swab the back of your throat, and that, I think, when they're kind of tickling your epiglottis in that the back of your throat, you kind of gag a bit. And there again, probably 30 seconds or so that it lasted, and it was over. So it's not a terrible experience, but it's not that great either. So what we know from now is that it'll take 2 or 3 days for the test results to arrive back, and then we'll find out what happens from there. I'm not sort of banking on lots of information. I'm just, ever since the start of, I guess, worldwide things shutting down, I've just been saying to everybody, just take things one day at a time. Don't worry about, there's the possibility we might be here for 14 days more under quarantine. Personally, I'm just like, let's worry about today. And, as long as I'm, fed today and had a shower and warm and, been able to communicate with friends and family, etc., I'm still alive. So, I just take things one day at a time and see how it goes. But, that's sort of where we stand. The doctor did sort of say 2 or 3 days' time, and then they'll make a decision as to what happens. One of the guys that I was traveling with, that is also under quarantine, has a friend that was off the Qatar flight a couple of days ago, and they had a similar thing happen. When they got their test results back, they were allowed to go home. So I guess, unless half of this group tests positive or something, only time will tell, and we can only take it one day at a time, so I'm not going to bother trying to speculate what's going to happen after that. I did make a couple of other little short video clips when we first arrived at the airport in the van, and when we first arrived in quarantine, and a few things like that, which I'll also send out and stuff. But yeah, that's the sort of situation as it stands. Yeah, might as well just in this little video give you a little show around of things, although I have already done a video of what the room etc looks like. So there's the bed, little sort of coffee table, desk, there's a bin in the corner there, that's bathroom door, coming through the bathroom, very, very old and basic bathroom, and then this door here leads me out to the passage, and these are a few kind of doors I was talking about, so we can stand here and talk to our friends, and then have a look down the passage there. Yeah, so that's sort of how it all looks. So that's basically what I'm restricted to at the moment, is just this one room, opening the door every now and again, kind of chatting to my friends, and that's kind of it. So yeah, hope everybody else's self-isolation is going far better than this sort of forced government quarantine. So just to sum things up, the biggest frustration that we had was the lack of information and communication of what was happening, when things were happening, etc. The facility itself, look, it's not 5-star. It could be far worse. There's a bit of a frustration that we didn't have towels, etc., stuff like that. When we first arrived, we now have those. Food-wise is sort of average. It's not awful. I'm a very, very fussy eater. I eat all my lunch. So yeah, the staff overall have been quite friendly. So that's sort of where we stand. I'll probably try and post some more videos as and when things happen. Cool. Cheers.